Okay, well, welcome everyone to the first ever live Berkley Chamber podcast, brought to you by the Berkley Area Chamber of Commerce, where we spotlight local businesses, leaders, and ideas to help our community thrive. But before we get started tonight, I'd like to give a big shout out and a wonderful thank you to one of the chamber partners, Green Lantern Pizza, for supplying us tonight's pizza. So thank you, Pete, for that. Give him a hand. I am your host, Ken Pringle, and today we're excited to be joined by one of our valued partners and major sponsors, MSU Federal Credit Union. They've been tremendous supporters of the Chamber as well as the community, and we're looking forward to talking with our guests tonight about their resources, insights, and opportunities to bring to their members and as well to the community. Tonight's topic will be focused on strategies to stretch and protect your retirement savings, especially in today's current market. So is everybody ready? All right, well then let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I welcome tonight Uiion Duncanson, the market manager for MSU Federal Credit Union. So please give him a warm Oxford Tower welcome. So welcome, Uiion.
Hi, glad to be here. Excited. I've done many podcasts, but this is my first live podcast. So a little nerve-wracking.
The pressure is on.
But I'm excited to talk with all of you about this. I think this is, money is one of the things that is always changing. And just when you think you've got it down, things change again. So I'm excited to be here and talk through some of this.
Great. Well, I certainly appreciate it, Uiion. And if you could just kind of give them a little bit of background of, how long you've been with MSU and what you do for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been with the credit union almost 12 years. I started out working in our branches as a loan officer. So at the time I was helping to open new accounts and process, credit card, car loan applications, helping people to restructure if they had debt they were looking to get consolidated and all of that. Worked in our branches out in the Lansing area first because I went to MSU, go green. And then I like U of M too. But when I worked in the branches out there for about 3 years. I actually grew up over here in Southeast Michigan, in Rochester and Clarkston. And so in 2016, we merged with a smaller credit union in Clarkston, and I came to help be part of the transition team, onboard the new employees, and convert everything over. I ended up shortly thereafter joining our financial education team. So what we're talking about today is actually right up my alley. I worked in our financial education department, teaching about budgeting and building and repairing credit, avoiding scams and identity theft, all of those major financial topics that unfortunately there's just not enough reliable resources out there about. Did that for a while, and then I've been in my current position as a market manager doing community development, community impact work across Southeast Michigan for about 3 years now in that role. So.
Great. Well, obviously, as you can see, we're here with amongst seniors, and obviously, as a senior myself, I'm very concerned about what's going on in the market, and not sure if I am quite ready to retire because I'm afraid of what the market is still potentially going to do. So if you could tell me, why should seniors consider working with a credit union instead of going to a national bank?
Yeah, so one of the things I've learned working for a credit union, I've actually been a credit union member as long as I've had an account, is that where banks are for profit, credit unions are not for profit. And so what that means is a bank's goal ultimately is to earn money for their shareholders, the people that own stock. And so that sometimes manifests in higher fees, minimum balance requirements, monthly maintenance fees, fees for different services that either exist where credit unions, they're free, or that are higher than the fees that you would have at a credit union. banks tend to have much lower rates on their savings accounts. And so you tend to earn less on the average bank savings accounts. And what this boils down to is the bank needs to pay for all their operations, but also they need to pay shareholders. Credit unions are not for profit. So that means the money that comes in stays in the community that it's in. So credit unions typically pay you higher savings rates, charge lower loan rates, have fewer fees, and we reinvest in the community. So instead of paying shareholders, we reinvest back in the communities where we are, sponsoring events and showing up in the community, teaching free financial education, volunteering in the community, and really we don't just open a branch, we become part of the community and get involved.
Nice. Very nice. All right, to go along with that then, how does MSUFCU help their members manage Social Security deposits or any retirement income?
So we have a couple things. When you think about someone who's on a fixed income through retirement, we offer certain account types that provide benefits to our members that are over 55 that are special and unique. So those include, we have a classic checking that gives paper statements for people that prefer to continue having paper statements. There's no fee for that for anyone over 55. If you're under 55, there's just a minimum balance requirement to get those paper statements. We also offer free cashier's checks, free money orders. There's a free, box of personal checks that you get per year as well. And then one of the really cool recent additions is we're always looking at other partners that can help bring things where we don't have expertise. And so one of that is, for example, health insurance policies, right? So we're a credit union. We specialize in the financial side of things. But we partnered with an organization, Silver, that will do a comprehensive retirement analysis, provides you retirement scores. It can provide you connections to Medicare and Social Security resources, as well as can provide health policies, health insurance policies that subsidize your Medicare, Medicaid, and ensure that you're covered for all different types of insurance situations where you might not have coverage currently. And it's provided as a trusted partner of the credit union.
So would any of the individuals that are here tonight, would they actually have to be have an account with MSU in order to get that kind of advice?
Yes. So Silver is one of our partners that is made available for our members. Okay. So a lot of what we do in the space of providing those special benefits is we try and provide special benefits to our members for every stage of life that they might be in. So yeah, it's one of the benefits that would come with membership. Okay. But membership itself does not have a cost.
Got it. Quick show of hands. How many are already a part of the MSU-FCU?
Got a few in the room.
Okay. All right, good.
Excellent.
We need to get some more maybe. How about that? But you talked earlier that you mentioned special rates or products designed specifically for members. Is there any special rates happening right now that people should be aware of on why they should come over to MSU?
So I would say our rates are offered to all of our members. We have different types of accounts that are intended to meet whatever your goal is. So if you're looking for an account that's you want to keep the money, what we would say liquid, where you're going to need to be able to deposit, withdraw. It's maybe emergency savings, and so you don't want to lock it up in a certificate. We have what's called an insured money management account that has tiered dividends, meaning the more money you have in it, the more money you earn on your savings. We also have a savings builder. So for someone that maybe doesn't have a lot of savings yet, but has a goal to build up savings, that earns the highest on your first $1,000. And then your next $1,000 earns a slightly lower rate, but those are still better than the standard savings rates that are available. And then we have a number of certificate options. So if you're going to not touch the money for 3 months or for a year or for 3 years, 5 years, you can earn a higher rate of savings on those. Our loan rates are incredibly competitive with the market. Our auto loan rates are usually what you're going to find or better from, especially if you go to a dealership. Our rates are far lower than those. But the rates are always fluctuating. As you mentioned, there's a lot going on in the economy. And so a lot of people don't realize we'd all love to earn 5% on our savings and pay 2% on our car loan, but that just doesn't work, right? And no financial institution could afford to do that. And so when interest rates drop in the economy, that's usually where you see savings rates drop and loan rates drop. When interest rates increase, that's when you see both of those go up.
Yeah. Well, another thing that's happening in the economy today, and I'm sure everyone here is aware of it, or I hope you're aware of it, with the scams that seem to be going on amongst seniors. The financial scams seem to be targeting most seniors, and they're definitely on the rise. Mm-hmm. What are the most common scams that you are seeing right now in the market?
Yeah, so we do see this a lot, and it really is sad to see the targeting and the ways that people target, because they're manipulative. So I'm going to talk through a couple of them that we see commonly year over year, and they're still prevalent today. One of them is called the family scam or the grandparent scam. And that's where someone will reach out claiming to be a member of your family in need of some sort of immediate monetary support. They need you to send them money immediately because they're stuck somewhere. They're in jail. They've in the back of someone's car. There's any number of reasons that they might give. There's a hospital bill and they need money to pay for that. And so they claim to be your family member. And now with AI, you can even, if you have voice samples of someone, you can make it sound like that person. And so with that, it's always important to check a second source. Question whether the number they called you from is actually their phone number that you have saved and available. And if you're ever in question, get a second opinion. It's not that common in 2026 for someone to by phone, need you to immediately provide them a sum of money. That's just not realistic. And so pausing is really, in most of these situations I'm going to talk through, pausing is going to be your number one friend before acting. Another one is, and my grandpa actually fell victim to this a couple times, are tech support scams, where someone will contact you and say your computer is locked out and I can help you get it cleaned up and get it fixed up. You just need to grant me access to your computer. And then they're able to access passwords and different things. Usually they ask for some sort of fee to help provide that service to you. And generally, they're not actually doing anything of value. That's a common one that we do see. And then another third one is romance scams. So people will reach out, via email or social media or even phone, and start, they're looking for someone who's lonely and who wants a friend, who wants someone to love, who wants someone they can believe is showing up for them, and start asking for money. I just need to pay this one bill. It doesn't start out with, I need $5,000. It starts out with, I just need $20 for a cab to get home tonight, or I just need money so I can send you flowers, or any number of things. And it might sound ridiculous, but people fall victim to this all the time. And it really is preying on people, looking for people that can be preyed on in moments of vulnerability. Last one I did want to cover too, because we talked a little bit, in the financial realm specifically. I actually got a call, and I know that this one targets all demographics. Seniors are a heavy target for it, is IRS scams. Giving you a call saying, our records show that you owe back taxes that you never paid. And if you don't resolve this, then we're going to send the police after you. Or we're going to take your house, or we're going to take your assets. We're going to go into your account and take your money. And those are really, really scary. The first time I got that call, I was scared because I had never heard of that before. I was worried that I was out of compliance. I was actually at work at the credit union. And after they started asking, well, how much can you pay? I said, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to have to get off the phone and I'm going to do some research before I start sending money. I went into my boss's office and I said, just so you know, if the police randomly show up for me, let me know because there's a back door and I'm going to take a hike.
Did you take the back door?
The police never came. Interesting fact, this is worth noting, local police do not operate at the behest of the IRS. The IRS does not have the power to send somebody physically after you.
And also the IRS will not call them.
Correct. They will send you things in the mail. Yeah. So the moral of all of these is if something doesn't make sense, if something feels off, it's okay to take a pause. And one of the number one indicators of fraud is when you want to take a pause or get off the phone and do some research, they don't want you to get off the phone because once you do, they know they've lost. And so taking that extra moment to question it. I've had where my dentist, I set up a new dentist appointment. They call me back a few hours later and they need my social security number for my insurance. Makes sense, but I say, I understand that you need this, but I'm going to hang up the phone. I'm going to call the number I have saved in my phone for the dentist office, let them know that this information was requested and verify that it was really them, and then I can give them the information. It just is one extra step. And again, with the dentist office, they're going to go, oh, I totally understand. I would do the same thing, right? Don't call me, I'll call you.
So obviously, with all these different scams out there, then MSU has to, or maybe not has to, but are they providing steps for their members? What you should do, or do they send out messages letting them know that, hey, here's the latest scam going on, be aware?
So we do have a newsletter that is a community newsletter that our members can sign up for, where we do send out info about scam information among other community involvement things we're involved in. If we find out that someone is scamming, trying to pretend that they are us, which does happen sometimes where people are getting text messages or phone calls claiming to be from MSU Federal Credit Union, if we get wind of that, we will put out a notice to all of our members that we're aware that this scam is happening and we're being impersonated and to be extra vigilant about it. One of the things that we really try to do is use every interaction we have with a member as an opportunity to protect them. And so what that means is making sure that we are really speaking with our members. Sometimes folks get annoyed when they're on the phone and we're asking verification questions. And we have to remind them, we want to make sure that it's actually you because we don't want someone who's not you calling in and doing things with your money. Do you want that? And they, no. Other things that we do is if someone comes into a branch or calls us and suddenly they want to wire several $1,000s to someone and they've never done this before, or they come in and they want to get a cashier's check or withdraw $1,200 cash, and they don't usually do that. We just ask a few questions. Oh, what are you planning to do with it? Not because we're nosy, not because we're going to take note of what you're doing, but because if it's atypical, we want to make sure. And multiple times, when I worked in branches, this would happen all the time. I'd ask, oh, what are you getting this cashier's check for? Oh, well, I have to pay this, this employer that just hired me. Well, why do you have to pay the employer? Well, they sent me a cashier's check, for this like $3,000, and they said I had to use part of that to buy the equipment and materials for the job that I was going to do by sending that to them. And it doesn't make sense. But again, it's preying on people in moments of desperation. So we try to just ask those questions and understand because we want to make sure that we're able to catch if something is a scam. And oftentimes we can, sometimes we're not able to. And then it's a matter of working with our members who have been victimized to navigate through any legal possibilities. We can't provide the legal advice, but we can connect them with resources. And then also if there's, a negative account balance or things like that, how can we help you get that current in time rather than expecting it to all be done in a snap?
No, it's a reality now, folks, that we have to deal with on a daily basis. And when you're, living on, your retirement income and, you count on that money to be there, then definitely we want to make sure that we find the ways to help you protect that. Is there anything that they should do immediately if they think they've been scammed? I know you said pause earlier, but in that moment after something may have happened, is there a step process that they should do?
Yeah, so there's two things. The first one is always contact your financial institution. So maybe you have multiple, call them all. But if there's one that the interaction is tied to, you think they got one particular account number or piece of information, contact that one first. Sometimes, if you realize it before they've had a chance to do anything, you can shut it down. And that can be changing the account number, putting a hold on the account. There's all kinds of things that we can do to prevent damage from being done. If something has already been done, we can stop further things from being done. So immediately, that is the best course of action. Unfortunately, sometimes people don't do that because maybe they feel ashamed. Like, I didn't. This happened with my grandpa a couple times where I think in totality there were 5 times that he lost money of varying amounts ranging from $200 to $2,000. And in a couple of the instances, he called my dad right away and said, "Hey, something doesn't feel right. I think I lost money." And in some of them, he never said a word. And my dad, who was helping him with his finances, discovered it. And he's like, "Yeah, I knew. I felt ashamed." And that shame is not worth it when it comes to your financial situation. And so reaching out as soon as you can, the person you reach out to, they're not going to judge you. We're not going to judge someone who comes to us. We're going to say, "Thank God you came to us, and how can we help?" So your financial institution is number one. If it has to do with your social security number, so sometimes it's just there was a card transaction or they got your account number. That's isolated to that bank, that credit union, that account. If they got your social security number, that's more severe because that can affect your credit reports, that can affect your medical records and all of those other things. And so with a social security number type of situation, I always recommend contacting the credit bureaus. So there are 3 of them: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. You can contact any one of them and they can help you put a fraud alert on all 3 of your credit reports. So that means if someone's trying to open accounts or apply for credit in your name, it's going to have an alert that says, "Hey, this person has been targeted," and take additional verification steps. And then obviously if you do think that there's a potential of a medical component, let your medical insurance provider know. Let your doctor know. Those are things to just think of, and they may say, "Okay, we'll just make a note. We don't see anything yet." But being proactive about it is really helpful in protecting other aspects depending on the information that's been compromised.
Well, speaking of proactive then, do you offer any educational workshops at all for your members to be able to protect them in certain circumstances, or more importantly, maybe they're not even aware of some of the things that are happening out there?
Yeah, so we actually, this one I'm pleased to say, you don't have to be a member, though we'd love to have you all be members. We have a seminar series. They're done online because since COVID, we haven't seen a lot of in-person attendance at certain events. But we do online seminars all year round. And the topics vary everything from retirement planning, Medicare and Social Security planning, We've had Silver, that partner that I mentioned earlier, come and present on that. And then we always have fraud and identity theft presentations woven into those. So those are throughout the year. They're 1-hour workshops. There's time for question and answer. And the best part is they're all recorded on our YouTube channel. So if you want to just go check one out and not wait for a date that one's going to come around, you can go to YouTube, search for MSU Federal Credit Union, and then search for fraud and identity theft. And we have recordings of the seminars on that topic that we've done, as well as other topics that you might be interested in learning about.
Nice. You know, that to me, that's one of the most important things, is that with YouTube in particular, it's so nice to be able to just type in there, what you're looking for. And it's amazing how many videos are out there of the different things that, if you're not aware of, they can certainly help make you aware of it.
Yeah, I think the introduction of video, especially like publicly available video, has been awesome in the ability to share information. The challenge is that the information shared is not always accurate. And so I think about, I'm on TikTok. I watch a lot of TikTok videos, and I've come across financial influencers that share, don't do this, you should do that. This is how you make money. This is how you should handle Social Security. And many of those influencers have no background in the subject that they're talking about. And so one of the things that I will say is really important is not just access to videos and searching for videos, but knowing who are the trusted sources and reliable sources. And I always think about what do they have to gain from my participating in this video. So I think about, like, we have our seminar series. The videos are free and publicly out there. If you watch one of our fraud and identity theft prevention videos, we don't earn money from that. It's not something that benefits us, and this is why we're doing it. We're doing it because we believe in telling the community valuable information that's trusted and unbiased. There are some companies out there that even will provide you your credit score for free and things like that. Well, if they're providing you your credit score for free, there's a motivation. It's to sell you products and services. I'm not going to name names, but there are some apps out there that will give you your credit score, and I've used them before, taken them with a grain of salt, because then I get a recommendation. You should open this credit card to improve your credit. What would really make your score go up is if you got this loan from this company and paid these other credit cards off. And there's maybe a grain of truth in getting a fixed loan and paying off credit card debt, but why that company and at that rate, and does it understand my whole picture? So I just always say, trust those resources with a grain of salt, including videos.
Nice. Yeah, that definitely some really good advice there for sure. So let's kind of change the subject here a little bit. And before I do that, I'd like to get a show of hands of how many folks here are actually still going to their local bank or the credit union to deposit checks or, maybe even pull money out. Are you all going to the bank, or are you doing it online? Show of hands doing it and going to the bank. All right. Or how about going online and doing all transactions online? All right, well, good. That's good. That in itself is something that I've noticed with traditional banks, that they're focusing more on the ATM machines and not necessarily having a teller there to be able to help them out. What's MSU doing in that kind of situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of the big banks, even if they've closed a lot of branches, and even when they open branches, they tend to be unstaffed. Meaning when you go in, there's an ATM looking machine on the wall and a button you can push to do your transaction. And if it gets more complex, you got to go online or you got to call. That's not all of them, but that's a trend that we're shifting to. I think about some of the biggest banks, that's been their trend. With MSUFCU, we continue to build branches, and all of our branches are staffed by people because that's a key part of who we are and our identity, and it's what our members consistently tell us they want. Even if you don't go to the branch all the time, if you have a significant problem, it can be nice to go into a physical branch, sit down with another person, and have a conversation and explain it. And so we have retooled our branch models to be a little bit more modern. If any of you have been in this one down here, it's kind of an open concept, and you can sit down with one person and go through pretty much everything you need to do instead of having to go to one side to do a deposit and another to do your loan. But we believe in being publicly available. Service is a key part of our mission and our identity as a credit union. And so that's something that we believe a blend of both is essential, because there are people that want both. I work for the credit union, and I almost never carry cash. Truly. But then sometimes I need it, and so I usually can go to an ATM for that. But if I'm going to do a loan application or something that's a little bit more, I still like to be able to go in and sit with somebody and actually do the transaction there. So across all age groups, really having that blend is important. In Southeast Michigan here, we have, in the time I've been at the credit union, grown from what was one branch to now we have 8 branches in Southeast Michigan alone. So that not one branch in total. We had one branch in Auburn Hills, and now we have 8 branches across our Southeast Michigan locations. The closest one being right here at Coolidge and 11 Mile.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right, so on the, now that we've seen the show of hands where some like to go to the bank, but others like to do online banking, how do you accommodate both?
I think it's just having a seamless connection point. So if you do something online, when you come into the branch, we can see it, and vice versa. We have spent a fair amount of our time and energy getting our online system to be as functional as possible, because more and more people are looking for self-service options. So if somebody gives you a personal check, some people would take that personal check, drive over to the branch, deposit it in person. But you can also flip it over, sign the back, take a picture with your phone in our mobile app, and deposit it, and it's instantly in your account. We have people that are looking for ways to send money to a friend without having to write a check or give them their debit card. And so we've added features that allow you to transfer money between accounts in an instant, as long as you have their phone number. We've brought in a lot of things to make it easier, but then also some fun, cool digital things where one of my favorite is called Cashback Plus, and people always my friends and family have heard me talk about this too much. But Cashback Plus is something we rolled out that is not tied to a credit card, but it allows you to get cash back at different retailers up to 20% for money that you're already going to spend. Barnes & Noble is on that 20% list right now for any of you readers out there. And it's one of those digital innovations that we integrated into our mobile app and into our service, because people are doing a lot more things digitally, and there's a lot more we can do to help people save money and accommodate convenience in the digital space.
Nice. Well, speaking of accommodations, do you provide any accessibility features for members that may have vision or mobility challenges?
Yeah, so in the physical space in our branch, we have all kinds of services that can help with folks who might be physically impaired. Any of those things we can accommodate very easily. One of the transitions to, you may recall, most banks and credit unions used to have a standing teller line. So if you were going in and you were going to do something at the window, you had to stand the whole time. And if it was a long thing, you're leaning on the edge of the counter. All of our locations now have seated seated interactions. And so you can come in, you can sit down, you can be comfortable while you're interacting. In the digital space, our website is designed so that it can be read by screen e-readers and things like that. And so we really go, even our things we post on social media and that we design for flyers and things, we try to keep accessibility in mind, recognizing that we want everyone to be able to easily see the information and understand the information that we're providing.
Nice.
We don't want anything to be deceptive or misunderstood or unclear at any time.
Right. No, I have seen that myself, which I certainly think is one of my favorite things. Is I grew up in the days where I wanted to hear, "Oh, how you doing, Mr. Pringle?" And now it's always, "Can I see your ID?"
Mm-hmm. Which I do want to mention that, because in my time at the branches, when I started in the branches, there were definitely folks who didn't like that I was asking them for their ID, which I go back to, I want to make sure it's you that I'm giving the money to. So I think it's important from that perspective, but also if you think about our branches, where there used to be an employee that might come in, start working at a branch as a teller, and 30 years later retire as a teller. We're seeing workforce changes where people come in, they want to work that for a few years, then they want to move into a leadership role or into one of the back office roles, try something different. And so there is natural just churn of who the employees are. And what that means is it does feel a little bit less maybe personal in the I know you by face aspect. But our goal is always to ensure that your experience is not just based on whether or not I recognize you coming in, but did you feel heard? Did you feel like I listened to you? Do you feel like I presented you with things that actually solved the issue that you came in, and maybe even shared something new that can help you be successful? So there is that difference in the recognition of, they know me by name versus they know me in the sense of they're listening to me and working with me.
Good.
That's a goal.
Well, let's go back, if we could, just for a minute to help our folks here tonight understand more about what MSUFCU can do if they have already have an account with another bank, but they're not necessarily happy with that, and maybe they need someone to kind of help assist them in financial planning, or maybe get some retirement advice that they've not had through either their own financial planner previously or just from their bank. What can you do to address that for members?
Yeah, so we do have a financial planning partnership. I actually just worked with them just 2 weeks ago. And so anyone who is a member, so that is another thing that's available for members. If you're a member of the credit union, you can have a complimentary appointment with one of our financial advisors to talk through what your goals are, be that, planning to how to make the best use of your retirement funds. If you have things you need to roll over from one account type to another, if you're looking at annuities or different things, they can talk through all of that and help you plan out that financial picture. So that's, but again, that is for members. And so becoming a member is the first step. And again, membership is free. So other than $5 that you keep in your savings account as long as the account's open.
What, if you could give the audience one kind of word of advice of what they should look at doing in today's economy to stretch that dollar even further out, especially today?
So I think looking at what you have currently, are you being charged fees for things that you don't have any need to pay those fees for? Are there ways to get out of paying those fees? Sometimes that means switching financial institutions, or, stopping a service you didn't realize was still being charged.
Can you give them an example of the kind of fee, what kind of fees would you be referring to?
Yeah, so I've had people who didn't realize that in one of their accounts, there was a minimum balance fee. And so every month they were getting $5, $10, $15 monthly fee because their account balance was below a certain dollar amount. And that just eats away at your account over time. And it's small enough that people don't always notice it unless you're looking at your balance every day or every week or every month and going through your statement to see what am I actually being charged. So I think that's really important. But my number one, overall piece of advice is to just pause. Kind of like I said with the identity theft piece. I think pausing also applies when it comes to making impulsive decisions with our money. When people get scared, we're more likely to buy that thing now because it might be more expensive later, even if it's a really expensive thing. Or we might call our financial advisor and tell them to sell off all of those things that are losing money and instead buy something that's safer. And I can't tell you any one decision is right or wrong in those instances, but I can tell you that financial decisions based out of fear are rarely the right decision. So pausing, asking for advice and input, and thinking through the options is the best way to protect yourself in this kind of volatile economic environment. Because that fear drives behavior that sometimes we regret. Or decisions we sometimes regret.
Yeah. All right. Can you provide any guidance for members or potentially for people who would like to be members and are looking to find ways to help their grandchildren or their children or their grandchildren, in this case financially? Is there any kind of guidance you can provide them for that?
Yeah. So, I mean, at the credit union, we offer youth accounts. Most credit unions do. So I think getting kids started with learning about money earlier is really important for them to understand what is the savings account, what is the checking account, what is money, why do I have to save money, and what is the value or excitement in that. And then also, if you're thinking about saving for college, trade school, some sort of post-secondary education for kids when they get to that age, there's a number of different options. You can start saving for that early, start teaching them about that and preparing them for that with education, and ideally some sort of savings that they can see and learn about and experience. I know growing up, my family talked about money a lot, and that was unique. Most of my peers, their parents didn't want to talk about money. They thought money was a taboo topic. And so people just almost suffered in silence. Their kids didn't know they were struggling with something or going through a financial situation. And I think being open about that and talking about that and asking questions about that, talking about money earlier. Yes, we do have money to afford this thing because we didn't do this other thing. All of those conversations are really helpful in setting our younger generations up for success so that they feel like they can talk about money when there's a problem.
I love talking about money. I just wish I had more of it. All right, so let's get to the real facts here of, how can any of our seniors here tonight become members at MSUFCU? Yeah,
there's three main ways for it. One would be to go into our branch just down the street. We'd love to see you. Another would be to go online to our website at MSUFCU.org. You can actually apply and open your account there, or give us a call. Our phone number's on our website as well. Any of those are ways to get started, and we can even if you don't know what types of products and services you might be looking for, we can talk through all of that and make sure we get you set up with the right things for you. Nice. And like I said, it's just a $5 deposit into the savings account. All credit unions do that. That's your share in membership. But there's no fee to open an account, and we have options with no minimum balance or monthly maintenance requirements. So.
Excellent. I think you answered this question before, but I'm going to ask it again, just because I'd like to make sure that everyone can have a good takeaway from tonight. And that's if you can give them one piece of financial advice, specifically to our podcast listeners, what would it be?
That one piece would just be pause. Pause before acting.
I think you're right. I want to pause for a second. No, Uiion, I want to thank you so very much. Very informative, and certainly for those of you who don't know Uiion, please get to know him after this conversation. Take a few minutes of time to get to know him. Very positive influence in the community. He's great to work with, and I thank you for joining us today. So give him a good hand, please, and thank him.
Thank you all.
Certainly, we'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight, especially MSU Federal Credit Union for being one of our major sponsors for the Berkeley Area Chamber of Commerce. If you'd like to learn more about any of the services that were talked about tonight, please stop Uiion this evening, or if you'd like, go visit them online at www.msufcu.org. At this point in time, I'd like to thank Green Lantern Pizza once again for providing the great tasting pizza, Oxford Towers, obviously, for hosting this event, CMN TV for recording our podcast, and a special thank you to each and every one of you for attending tonight. We thank you very much, and please, we ask you that you tune in because we're going to do more podcasts coming up, and certainly have yourself a good evening. So thank you once again. Good night, all.